Have you ever asked yourself, why do they seem distant while you crave closeness? What if I told you right now you could summon their love with nothing but your inner world? This isn't magic, it's law. You don't chase, you assume. You don't wait, you become. Let me show you how to attract your specific person now and make them love you badly using nothing but your imagination. I remember once a woman approached me in New York, desperate. Her voice trembled not from fear but longing. She had a man in mind, a very specific man, and she asked me, how do I get him to see me again? I smiled not at her pain, but at the simplicity of the answer. I told her what I tell you now, live as though it's already yours. Feel that he already loves you madly. Let it burn through your being. See, you do not attract what you want. You attract what you are conscious of being. She followed the instruction not casually, but with conviction. She walked the streets of Manhattan feeling his hand in hers. She cooked meals for two in her imagination. She fell asleep each night with the assumption that he was hers. Not someday now. Within weeks he returned not just with interest but obsession. I can't stop thinking about you, he said. And I laughed, because of course he couldn't. She'd implanted herself in his consciousness through her own. You see, to attract your specific person now, the only thing you must change is your inner state. You don't need to text them, chase them, or beg. You only need to become the version of yourself who is already loved badly by them. You are not trying to manifest, they're already yours. You must first assume the feeling of already being loved by your specific person. Desire is a divine blueprint. It reveals what you already possess in potential. Imagination, when felt as real, becomes your new reality. Do not look to the outer world for proof. It is only the shadow of your inner assumptions. Every encounter with them in your mind must be lived as though it already happened. Your specific person is not separate from your consciousness, they are within it. Persist in the assumption even when reality seems to contradict it, especially then. When your inner world changes, they must conform. They will love you badly, not by force, but by law. To attract your specific person now, the first and most important step is to assume the feeling of already being loved by them. This is the essence of what you must do. It is not a fleeting thought, nor is it a hope or wish. You must immerse yourself in the assumption that the love you desire is already present, right here, right now. The power lies in assuming the end result with such conviction that you begin to feel it, as if it is your current reality. You see, our external world is a direct reflection of our internal state. It does not matter what is visible in the outer world, how distant the person seems, or how disconnected they might appear. The only thing that matters is how you feel about yourself in relation to them. In the moment you assume that they love you, truly feel their affection, their warmth, their presence in your life, you have already begun the process of manifestation. The outer world must eventually conform to what you are feeling and imagining within. Take a moment and reflect. If you were to believe that this person loves you, imagine they are deeply, passionately, and constantly in love with you. How would that shift your perception of yourself? How would you carry yourself differently? What would your thoughts be like? If you truly assumed they loved you now, not in the future, how would you respond in the world? This is the power of assumption. It is not about trying to make them love you. It's about assuming that they already do. When you live in the end result, when you feel that love flowing to you constantly, the feeling of being loved, desired and wanted becomes so real to you that it is no longer a mere hope. It becomes a fact. Your assumption transforms your state of being, and as a result, it alters your world. The key here is not to focus on how or when it will manifest. That is not your concern. The only concern is the assumption, the deep inner conviction that this person already loves you. How would your life be different if that were the case? If you assumed the end, not only would you feel their love, but you would carry yourself with the confidence of one who is already adored. Now let us explore why this feeling of being loved is so crucial. When you assume the feeling of being loved by this person, you align yourself with the frequency of that love. What happens then? You begin to see signs, subtle shifts in your world that reflect your new state. You might begin to notice that your specific person begins to show more interest in you, or perhaps you sense a deeper connection when you are in their presence. This is the law at work, and it operates through your consciousness. Your assumption has set the creative process in motion. You may wonder, what if they seem distant? What if they are not even aware of me in the way I wish? These are distractions. The law does not respond to appearances, it responds to your inner assumptions. When you focus on what is, you perpetuate what is. But when you live the end, assuming the love and affection of this person as a present reality, you set in motion the forces that must bring that love into your experience. Think of it as a seed planted in the soil of your consciousness. You water it with the feeling of love, and you tend to it by sustaining the assumption that it is already yours. In time, it must sprout and bloom in the external world. It's not about waiting for the world to change first. It's about changing your inner world and watching the outer world conform to it. Imagine yourself already in the relationship you desire. Imagine the moments of connection, the love, the joy you share. Feel the warmth of their affection, the tenderness of their touch, the happiness in their eyes when they look at you. Let these feelings fill your consciousness until they become so vivid that they are more real than the current circumstances. This is the power of assumption. When you assume the end, you are not waiting for the world to catch up with you. You are ahead of the world, and the world must follow. The law operates through your feelings and assumptions. When you embody the feeling of being loved, the universe has no choice but to respond to you in kind. Your assumption does not have to be perfect. It doesn't require a flawless, unwavering belief. What it requires is the genuine feeling that this person already loves you, and that it is already happening in the present moment. You must also remember that belief is not a condition for manifestation. It is not about believing something you cannot see, but about feeling the truth of it within you. When you assume the feeling of being loved, it doesn't matter whether your mind fully understands how it will come to pass. The feeling is the signal. The assumption, repeated and sustained, becomes the blueprint for your external reality. As you assume the feeling of being loved, stay present in the emotion of it. Do not dwell on doubts or worries about the external situation. Those doubts are merely distractions, temporary shadows of your old state of mind. Focus only on what you desire, on the end result, on the feeling of being loved. In time, this assumption will shift your state, and the external world will conform to reflect that inner shift. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are already living in the end, experiencing the love, the closeness, and the connection. You must feel that love, breathe it in, and embrace it fully. The more you assume this love is yours now, the quicker the universe responds to you. This is the power you wield. So assume the feeling of being loved. Feel it now, as if it has already come to pass. Live as though this person loves you deeply, passionately, without hesitation. This is your creative power. When you assume it with confidence, without doubt, and live it fully, you will see the manifestation unfold effortlessly. The person who is meant for you cannot resist this law. They must return to you, drawn by the love you have assumed is already yours. Desire is a divine blueprint. It is not something to be feared or ignored, but to be embraced as the inner calling that guides you to what is already yours. When you experience a deep, burning desire for a specific person, know that it is not a random feeling. It is the universe speaking to you, revealing what is already laid out for you in the fabric of existence. Desire is not a signal that something is missing. It is the call to awaken to your true potential and to align yourself with what you truly want. When you feel this desire, understand that it is not a reflection of lack. It is not a hunger for something you don't have. On the contrary, it is a confirmation that the very thing you desire is already present in your world, ready to manifest, as long as you align your consciousness with it. The more intense the desire, the more it reveals the closeness of your wishes' fulfillment. This desire, this deep feeling in your heart, is not a signal that you are lacking. It is a divine prompt that you are being led to the fullness of what is already yours in potential. Imagine for a moment that your desire is like a seed. It exists not as something that you need to go out and find, but as something you must bring into full manifestation through your inner alignment. That seed is already planted in your consciousness, and it will grow to fruition as long as you tend to it with belief, faith, and assumption. The desire itself is already a form of fulfillment. When you want something, you are not wanting it because you lack it. You are desiring it because it is already yours in the unseen world, and your inner world is drawing it to you. Your desire is not an accident. It is not a fleeting wish. It is a part of you. It is the reflection of your true nature, calling you to embody what you truly want. The desire for a specific person, for their love, their affection, their presence, it is all part of the divine design. The universe is speaking to you, asking you to embody the feeling of having them in your life, to assume the role of someone who is loved by them, to act as though they are already with you. The desire itself is already a signal from the universe that the thing you desire is already present in your world, awaiting your conscious awareness to bring it to life. When you feel the burning desire for a specific person, recognize that it is not something that must be sought after or chased. The desire itself is the manifestation of that person in your inner world, and it is your job to bring that desire into full expression in the outer world by living as though it is already true. The feeling of desire is not one of lack or longing, it is the call to align with the reality you wish to experience. You do not need to wait for the external circumstances to shift. The internal shift is all that is required. When you feel that desire, know that the fulfillment of it is already unfolding. There is a divine intelligence that guides the universe, and your desires are not separate from this intelligence. They are part of the greater plan. When you desire something, you are simply becoming aware of what is already aligned for you. The person you seek is not out of your reach. They are already part of the divine plan, and your desire is simply the means by which you unleash mere energy. When you embrace your desire fully, when you feel it as if it has already been fulfilled, you are participating in the process of creation. You are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are living in the end result, assuming that what you desire is already part of your life. As you continue to focus on the desire and live in the assumption that it is already fulfilled, the external world begins to reflect this inner state. You will begin to notice subtle changes. Perhaps the person you desire starts to show interest in you, or you feel a deep, magnetic connection when you are around them. These are not coincidences. They are the outward signs of your inner transformation. Your desire has already been planted in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious is now working to bring it into your physical reality. But it all starts with the recognition that your desire is not something outside of you. It is a reflection of your inner world. The more you assume that this specific person is already in your life, the more the external world will begin to conform to this assumption. You do not need to manipulate the situation. You do not need to chase or beg. The desire itself, when embraced fully, brings about the change. When you allow yourself to feel that the desire is already fulfilled, the universe, your subconscious mind, and the laws of attraction all align to bring it into your experience. You must also understand that the desire for a specific person is not a passive waiting game. It is an active, creative force that requires your engagement. It requires that you feel the love, the affection, and the connection as if it already exists in your life. The more you feel it, the more real it becomes. And the more real it becomes in your inner world, the more it must manifest in the outer world. The desire is the spark. Your feelings and assumptions bring it to life. Remember, the desire for this specific person is not something to be feared or doubted. It is your divine blueprint. It is a signal from the universe that what you desire is already yours. The moment you embrace this desire as an indication of fulfillment, the more your external world will shift to reflect this truth. The desire is not a call for something outside of you. It is a call to align yourself with what you already possess in potential. Embrace it, feel it, and live it, and the external world must conform to the assumption that this person is already in your life, loving you deeply and completely. Imagination, when felt as real, becomes your new reality. It is in your ability to imagine, to see and feel what is not yet visible to the senses, that you unlock the power to change your world. The power of imagination is the key to creation, for it is within the realm of your imagination that all things begin. What you imagine, what you truly feel as real within your mind, must eventually materialize in your outer world. This is not some abstract theory or philosophy. It is the fundamental law of creation. The world you see around you is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world, and your inner world is shaped by the power of your imagination. Imagine for a moment that you are holding in your mind the picture of the specific person you desire. Visualize them standing in front of you, Feel the warmth of their presence, hear their voice, and most importantly, experience the feeling of being deeply loved by them. In that moment, when you close your eyes and allow the image to take form in your imagination, you are planting the seed of reality. The feeling that you generate in that space is the most important thing of all. It is not enough to simply see the image. You must feel the truth of it as if it is already happening. The feeling is what gives life to the image. The feeling is what transforms your imagination from a mere picture into a living reality. When you imagine, it must be done with the full conviction that what you are imagining is true, that it is happening now, not in some distant future. The moment you experience the feeling of your desires already fulfilled, you are in alignment with your wish. You are no longer waiting for the world to catch up with your imagination. You are living in the end result, assuming the feeling of having what you want, and the universe must reflect that assumption. This process is not one of force or struggle. It is one of relaxation and trust. You do not need to exert pressure or demand that things unfold in a particular way. You simply need to imagine the end result and then surrender to the feeling of it. Feel the joy, the peace, the love, as if it has already manifested in your life. The moment you are able to feel the reality of your desire, you are sending out a signal to the universe, to the world around you, that this is your truth. And in response, the universe will begin to rearrange itself to reflect that truth. It is important to understand that imagination is not a passive activity. It is an active force, a creative power that shapes the fabric of your reality. When you use your imagination to create a picture of what you desire, you are engaging in the creative process. But it is not enough to merely picture the end result. You must embody the feeling of that result. This is where most people go wrong. They may visualize, but they do not feel the truth of their desire. The feeling is what charges the imagination with power. The moment you feel the reality of desire, you are no longer simply imagining it. It is as though it is already happening. This feeling is what makes imagination a tangible, creative force. It is the key that unlocks the door to your new reality. The feeling you generate in your imagination becomes the driving force behind your manifestation. As you continue to hold that image in your mind and feel the truth of it, the world around you must respond in kind. It is only a matter of time before the external world catches up with the internal picture you have created. The feeling of your imagination, when held in a state of unwavering belief, becomes the blueprint for your reality. Imagine that the person you desire is already in your life. Visualize the two of you together, sharing experiences, creating memories, feeling the bond of deep love and connection. As you imagine this, allow yourself to feel the joy, the excitement, the peace, the love that you would feel if this were already true. The more you immerse yourself in the feeling of it, the more real it becomes to you. And as it becomes real to you, it becomes real in your outer world. Your imagination is not limited to the realm of fantasy or daydreaming. It is the most powerful tool you have for shaping your life. What you imagine with feeling becomes your reality. This is not a theory, this is a law. The imagination, when properly used, is the creative force that brings about change. The external world cannot help but conform to the image you have created within your mind. The person you desire to attract into your life is not separate from your imagination, they are one with it. They exist in your mind as much as they exist in the physical world. And through the power of your imagination, you draw them into your experience. The beauty of this process is that you do not need to know how it will unfold. The how is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the feeling. As long as you can imagine the end result, the person you desire, already loving you, already choosing you, and feel the joy, the gratitude, the love of that experience, you are on the path to manifestation. The moment you feel the reality of your desire, you are engaging in the creative process, and the universe must respond to your inner state. Imagination is the key to changing your reality. It is through imagination that you align yourself with the fulfillment of your desires. The moment you feel the truth of your desire, you are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are living in the end result, and the external world must reflect that. The power of imagination is the power to create, to bring into being what was once only a thought, a desire, a feeling. And the more vividly and deeply you feel your desires, the quicker they will manifest in your life. So embrace your imagination, use it wisely, See the person you desire, feel the love they have for you, live in the end result, and know that the universe is already working to bring your desires into being. The more real it feels, the closer you are to seeing it in your physical reality. The imagination, when felt as real, is not just a tool for creating. It is the very substance from which your reality is made. The external world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. This understanding is at the heart of creation. It is the starting point from which all things emerge. The reality that you experience today, the circumstances you find yourself in, the people you interact with, are all shaped by the assumptions you hold in your consciousness. When you truly grasp this, you begin to see that the outer world is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens because of you. The external world does not dictate your state, rather, your state of consciousness dictates your external world. Imagine for a moment that you are currently experiencing a situation in which the specific person you desire is distant, disconnected, or unaware of your presence. It may seem as though the outer world is showing you a reality that contradicts your desires, but this is where the power of your inner state becomes paramount. The outer world is not the cause of your experience, it is the effect. The cause lies within you. Your thoughts, assumptions, and beliefs are the seeds that create your reality. If you change the inner state, the outer state must change to reflect that. So, how does this work? It begins with the assumption. Your assumptions are the beliefs, the internal pictures, and the feelings you hold as true. They are not simply idle thoughts, they are powerful forces that shape and mold your external experience. If you continue to assume that your specific person is distant or uninterested, you will continue to see them as distant and uninterested. This is not because the world is set against you. It is simply because your internal world is aligned with the assumption that they are distant. And so the outer world must conform to that assumption. The key to changing this is to recognize that what you see in the outer world is simply a reflection of what you are assuming to be true on the inside. If you want your specific person to be closer, more affectionate, and more present in your life, you must first begin to assume that they already are. The assumption is not about waiting for the external world to change before you feel a different way. It is about feeling differently first, and allowing the external world to catch up with you. This is the most empowering part of the law. You are not at the mercy of the outer world. You are not a passive observer waiting for things to change. You are the creator of your experience. When you assume the feeling that your specific person is already deeply connected with you, already in love with you, you are changing your inner state. You are shifting your consciousness to align with the reality you wish to experience. And once that shift occurs, the outer world must conform. It is important to understand that the outer world can be slow to catch up with your new assumptions. Just because you assume the change doesn't mean it will show up immediately. This is where persistence comes in. You must continue to assume the end result, regardless of what the outer world shows you. If the outer world does not reflect your assumption, do not be discouraged. The outer world is simply reflecting your inner state. And the more you persist in the assumption of your desired outcome, the more the outer world must shift to reflect that assumption. This is the power of assumption. It allows you to take control of your life. When you assume that the person you desire is already deeply in love with you, already thinking of you, already wanting to be with you, you are aligning yourself with the reality that you want to experience. The outer world must conform to that assumption. It is a law of creation. It is not a question of whether or not it will work. It is a question of when it will work. The beauty of this law is that you are not subject to the whims of the external world. The outer world may show you signs of separation, indifference, or rejection, but you must not be swayed by these appearances. The outer world is not the cause of your experience, your inner world is. If you want to see a change in the way your specific person interacts with you, change the assumptions you are holding in your mind about them. Assume that they are already deeply in love with you, that they are already thinking of you, that they are already desiring to be with you. When you persist in this assumption, the outer world must change to reflect this. There is no magic or trick to this process. It is simply the law of cause and effect. The cause is your assumption, and the effect is the outer world. Your thoughts and feelings create the world you experience. So if you want to experience a closer, more loving connection with your specific person, begin by assuming that it is already true. Assume that they love you deeply, that they are already in your life in the way you desire. When you hold that assumption and you feel the truth of it as if it is already happening, the outer world must change to reflect this new reality. The power of assumption lies in its ability to shape your inner state, and through that, to shape your outer world. You are not waiting for the outer world to change before you feel differently. You are feeling differently now, and as you do, the outer world must follow. The outer world is merely a reflection of your inner state, and when you change that inner state, the outer world has no choice but to conform. This is not about forcing the outer world to change. It is about changing your inner world and allowing the outer world to naturally shift in response. It is about living in the end result, feeling the love, the connection, the closeness that you desire, and knowing that the outer world must eventually reflect that feeling. You are not a passive participant in your life. You are the creator. The outer world is not some fixed, unchanging reality. It is a reflection of your inner assumptions. If you want to change the way things are, change the way you think, feel, and assume about them. When you do, the outer world must change in response. This is the law. It is not about what happens in the world. It is about what happens in your mind. The external world must always conform to the assumptions you hold in your consciousness. When you change those assumptions, you change your reality. The moment you shift your assumption and believe that you are already experiencing the reality you desire, you begin to step into the role of the person who already has their desire fulfilled. This is the most powerful aspect of creation, living in the end. When you live in the end, you are no longer waiting for something to change in the outer world before you feel differently. Instead, you are assuming that what you desire has already manifested. This is the shift that changes everything. To live in the end is to assume the feeling of having your desire now, not in the future, not after some event occurs, but right now. It is living in the assumption that you are already the person who has the love of the specific person you desire. This is the key to bringing your desires into physical reality, feeling it now, as if it is already true. The challenge many people face is that they continue to look at the external world for evidence that their desire is coming. They wait for the phone call, the text message, the gesture from the person they desire. They want the world to show them proof before they begin to feel that their desire is already fulfilled. But this is not how the creative process works. The external world will always reflect what you are feeling internally. If you wait for the outer world to show you proof before you feel the truth of your desire, you are putting the cart before the horse. The correct process is to feel the truth of your desire now, to live as if it is already true. And in doing so, the outer world must adjust to reflect that inner truth. When you live in the end, you begin to assume the feelings of the person who already has their specific person in their life. You feel the joy, the peace, the love, and the fulfillment that you would feel if your desire were already present in your reality. You don't wait for the external circumstances to tell you that your assumption is true. You decide that it is true right now. You live as though you have already been chosen, as though the person you desire already loves you, as though you are already living the life you have imagined. This shift is not an act of pretending or forcing yourself to believe something that doesn't feel real. It is about embodying the feeling of your desire as if it is already true. When you feel the love, the connection, and the fulfillment of your desire, you are aligned with the reality that you want to experience. The assumption of having your desire now is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. The assumption must be maintained without doubt or wavering. If you begin to doubt or question the validity of your assumption, you are simply reinforcing the belief that it has not yet come to pass. The power lies in your ability to persist in the assumption of having your desire, regardless of what the outer world shows you. When you live in the end, you are living in a state of certainty. You do not need to see evidence in the physical world before you believe that your desire is already fulfilled. You live as though it is already so, and the external world must reflect that. It is important to understand that when you live in the end, you are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are not waiting for the person to change, to move closer, or to give you their love. You are assuming that it is already true, that the person you desire is already in your life, already loving you deeply. When you make that assumption and feel it in your heart, the outer world must align with that assumption. The more you feel the truth of your desire, the more it must manifest in your world. Living in the end requires you to abandon any sense of lack or need. It requires you to stop looking for evidence of your desire, and instead trust that it is already yours. You must feel as though your desire is already fulfilled, even if the outer world has not yet caught up. When you live in the end, you are declaring to the universe that you are already whole, already loved, already experiencing the relationship that you want. You are not waiting for anything to happen because you already have it. This process is not about forcing the outer world to change. It is about changing your internal world, your assumptions, and your beliefs. When you feel the love of the specific person, as though it is already in your life, the outer world must align with that assumption. The more you live in the end, the more the universe responds to your inner state of being. Your desires must manifest when you assume the feeling of already having them. Living in the end also means giving up the need to control how things unfold. When you assume the end result, you are trusting that the universe will bring about the fulfillment of your desire in the best possible way. You do not need to figure out the details. You do not need to worry about how things will come together. Your job is to feel the end result now, to assume that the person you desire is already in your life, and to live as though it is already true. The law of assumption works because it aligns your inner world with your outer world. The more you assume the end result, the more your feelings and beliefs align with that outcome. And as you continue to live in the end, the external world must shift to reflect your inner assumptions. The person you desire will begin to show up in your reality, loving you, choosing you, being with you, because you have already assumed that it is true. Living in the end also means releasing any attachment to time. It means understanding that time is an illusion. Your desire is not bound by time, it is a creation of your consciousness. When you live in the end, you are not waiting for the future to bring your desire. You are living in the present moment, assuming that your desire is already here. Time becomes irrelevant when you live in the end, because you are no longer waiting for anything to change. You are living as though it has already changed, and the external world must reflect that assumption. Living in the end is the key to bringing your desires into reality. It is the practice of feeling the truth of your desires now, not in some distant future, but in this very moment. When you assume that your specific person already loves you, that you are already in the relationship you desire, you are stepping into the role of the person who has what they want. And the moment you step into that role, the world must respond. The person you desire must show up, and your desire must become your reality. You must understand that the world you experience is simply the mirror reflecting back the thoughts and feelings you hold about yourself and others. It is not a random series of events. It is a precise reflection of the beliefs and assumptions you carry in your consciousness. The people in your life, including the specific person you desire, are not separate from you. They are aspects of your consciousness, projected onto the screen of your reality. This means that to change your relationship with them, you must first change the way you think and feel about them. The transformation begins within, not in the outer world. What you must do then is change the way you view your specific person. You must no longer see them through the lens of limitation or separation. If you are seeing them as distant, uninterested, or unavailable, you are projecting those assumptions onto them, and they must reflect those assumptions back to you. The key is to change the way you see them, not as they are in the present moment, but as you wish them to be. You must begin to view them as already deeply in love with you, as already desiring to be with you, and you must hold that belief with unwavering certainty. You may find that it is difficult at first, especially if the outer world does not seem to reflect your desires. Perhaps the person you want is distant or seemingly indifferent. This is where many people falter. They look at the outer world and assume that it dictates their internal state. But the outer world is simply a reflection of your inner state. And your job is to change your inner state, regardless of what you see on the outside. You must stop looking to the external world for evidence of your assumptions, and instead trust that your inner world, when changed, will cause the outer world to change as well. The truth is, the person you desire is not separate from you. They are part of your consciousness. If you continue to assume that they are distant or uninterested, you are keeping them at arm's length, creating a barrier between you and them. But if you begin to assume that they are already deeply in love with you, that they are already thinking about you, that they are already desiring to be with you, you are bridging the gap between you and them. The moment you change your assumptions about them, they must change in response to your new perception. This is not just about wishing or hoping for a change in the outer world. It is about shifting your perception, changing the way you feel about the person, and feeling the connection that you desire right now. You must live in the assumption that they are already in your life, already loving you, and already choosing you. It is not enough to simply think about it or visualize it. You must feel it as true. Feel the joy, the peace, the excitement, as though it is already happening. When you can feel the reality of your desire in the present moment, you are changing the conditions of your consciousness, and the outer world must follow suit. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when the outer world does not seem to reflect your assumptions. Perhaps the person you desire is still distant, or you haven't yet received any signs that they are thinking of you. This is where persistence and faith in the process come in. You must continue to assume the end result, continue to feel the love, the connection, the fulfillment as if it has already manifested. Do not let the outer circumstances dictate your inner state. The outer world is not the cause of your experience, it is the effect. And when you persist in the assumption that your specific person is already in love with you, the outer world must shift to match that assumption. It is crucial to understand that the people in your life, including the one you desire, are not separate from your consciousness. They are part of your inner world, reflections of your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. If you are experiencing distance, rejection, or lack of interest from them, it is because that is what you have assumed to be true. The moment you change your assumptions, the outer world must reflect that change. This is the law of creation. The outer world mirrors your inner world. If you wish to see a change in your relationship with a specific person, you must first change the way you see them. You must assume that they are already loving you, already choosing you, already desiring to be with you. The power of this understanding is immense. You are not waiting for the outer world to show you signs that your desires are being fulfilled. You are creating those signs through your assumptions and feelings. The more you assume that your specific person is already deeply in love with you, the more you will begin to feel that love, and the more the outer world will reflect it. This is the law in action. Your assumptions become your reality. The people in your life are not fixed, external entities. They are projections of your inner world. And when you change the assumptions you hold about them, they must change in your experience. This process requires persistence and unwavering belief in the power of your assumptions. You must not waver in the belief that your specific person is already in your life, already choosing you, already deeply in love with you. When you live in this assumption, you are aligning your consciousness with the reality you wish to experience. And when your consciousness aligns with your desire, the external world must shift to reflect that alignment. It is also essential to let go of any attachment to how or when things will manifest. This is a common pitfall. People often become fixated on the how and when of their desires, which creates resistance and doubt. The key to the process is to remain focused on the end result, the assumption that your specific person is already in your life and already loves you. How and when it manifests is not your concern. The universe will bring it to you in the best possible way. Your job is to feel the end result now, to live as if it is already true, and to trust that the outer world must align with that assumption. The beauty of this process is that it empowers you to take control of your life. You are not a passive observer waiting for the world to change. You are the creator, and the world reflects your inner assumptions. If you want to change your relationship with your specific person, you must change the assumptions you hold about them. You must assume that they are already in love with you, already wanting to be with you, and already choosing you. When you live in this assumption, the outer world must align with your inner state, and your desire must become your reality. When you begin to understand that your assumptions are the driving force behind everything you experience in the external world, you realize that you can reshape your reality at will. Your assumptions are not just casual thoughts or fleeting notions. They are the powerful creators of your reality. The external world you see, including the people in it, is merely a mirror reflecting back the assumptions and beliefs you hold in your mind. It is not a fixed, rigid world that controls you. Instead, it is a fluid, malleable reality that responds to the beliefs you consistently entertain. To attract your specific person, you must first change your assumptions about them. If you currently see them as distant, uninterested, or unapproachable, then that is exactly what you will continue to experience. This is not because they are inherently that way, but because you are projecting those assumptions onto them. You are seeing them in a limited way, and they must reflect that limited image back to you. But if you begin to change your assumptions, if you begin to assume that they are already in love with you, already thinking of you, and already wanting to be with you, your reality must shift to reflect this new assumption. What this means is that you have the ability to decide how your specific person shows up in your life. You are not a passive observer waiting for them to change. Instead, you are the creator of the experience you wish to have with them. The key to this creative process is the assumption. The assumption that they are already deeply in love with you, that they already desire to be with you, is the foundation of the reality you wish to manifest. You must live in that assumption as if it is already true, not in the future, but in the present moment. You may notice that the outer world is slow to reflect the changes you are making internally. Perhaps your specific person is still distant, or there is no immediate sign that they are thinking of you. But this is where persistence comes in. The outer world will always reflect your internal state, but it does so gradually. It is important to remember that the process of creation does not always show instant results. Just because you assume the feeling of already having your desire does not mean that the external world will immediately conform to your assumptions. The external world is simply catching up to your internal state. This is why you must persist in your assumptions. Even when the outer world does not reflect your desires immediately, you must continue to assume the end result. Continue to assume that your specific person is already deeply in love with you, already wanting to be with you. Do not allow the outer world to dictate your internal state. The more you persist in the assumption of the end result, the more the external world must conform to that assumption. Your persistence is the key to bringing your desire into physical reality. Another important aspect of this process is the emotional component. It is not enough to simply think or visualize your desire. You must feel it. You must feel the love, the joy, the connection, and the fulfillment as though it is already happening. The emotional charge you give to your assumption is what gives it the power to shape your reality. When you feel the truth of your desire in your heart, you are aligning your consciousness with the reality you wish to experience. The more you feel the reality of your desire, the more the external world must conform to that feeling. Living in the assumption that your specific person is already in your life, already loving you, and already choosing you, requires a shift in the way you think and feel about yourself and your relationship with them. If you have been assuming that they are distant, that they do not love you, or that they are uninterested, you are creating a barrier between you and your desire. But the moment you begin to assume that they are already in love with you, already thinking of you, already choosing you, you are removing that barrier. You are creating a space for your desire to manifest in your life. This is not about forcing the outer world to change. It is about changing your inner world. When you change the assumptions you hold about your specific person, they must change in your experience. The outer world is simply a reflection of your inner state. If you want to experience a closer, more loving connection with your specific person, you must begin by changing the way you see them. You must see them as already loving you, already desiring you, already in your life. This shift in perception will cause the outer world to conform to your new assumptions. The law of assumption works because it aligns your inner world with your outer world. The more you assume the feeling of already having your desire, the more you align your consciousness with that desire. And when your consciousness is aligned with your desire, the outer world must adjust to reflect that alignment. This is the power of assumption. It is not about waiting for the outer world to change before you feel differently. It is about feeling differently first, and then allowing the outer world to catch up. It is important to understand that your assumptions are not based on what is currently happening in the outer world. The outer world is simply a reflection of your past assumptions, and your job is to change your assumptions to reflect your desired outcome. The more you persist in the assumption, that your specific person is already deeply in love with you, already wanting to be with you, the more the external world must conform to that assumption. It is the law of cause and effect. Your assumptions cause the effects you see in your reality. You are the creator of your experience, and the outer world is simply responding to your internal state. If you want to change your relationship with your specific person, you must change your assumptions about them. Assume that they are already in your life, already loving you, already choosing you. When you do this, the outer world must reflect your inner state. The people in your life are not fixed, unchanging entities. They are reflections of your consciousness. And when you change the assumption you hold about them, they must change in your experience. In essence, you are not waiting for the world to change before you feel differently. You are feeling differently now, and as you do, the world must change to reflect your new inner state. Your assumptions create your reality, and when you persist in the assumption of your desired outcome, the external world must shift to reflect that assumption. The key is to live in the assumption that your specific person is already in your life, already loving you, already choosing you. When you do this, your desire must manifest in your world, because the outer world always conforms to your inner assumptions. When you shift your awareness and align your mind with the reality you wish to experience, you begin to see the power of your inner world over the external world. Everything that happens in your life is a direct reflection of the thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you hold within your consciousness. The external world is not a force that controls you, it is an effect, a mirror of the assumptions you have about yourself, your desires, and the people around you. If you want to change the way you experience your specific person, you must first change your assumptions about them. By changing your assumptions, you are changing the conditions of your inner world, and in turn, you will change the conditions of your outer world. When it comes to attracting your specific person, the most powerful tool you have is the assumption. You must assume that the person you desire is already in your life, already loving you, and already choosing you. It is not about waiting for something to happen in the future. The key is to live as though it is already true in the present moment. This shift in your consciousness is what allows the outer world to reflect your inner world. Your thoughts and assumptions shape your reality, and when you consistently assume the end result, the universe must conform to that assumption. Living in the assumption that your specific person is already in your life requires a deep sense of conviction and belief. It requires you to trust that your inner world is the source of all creation, and that the outer world is simply a reflection of what you hold within. When you assume that your specific person is already in love with you, you are aligning yourself with the reality you desire. You are no longer waiting for the outer world to show you proof before you believe. Instead, you are believing and feeling the truth of your desire now, which causes the outer world to shift to reflect that truth. The difficulty for many people lies in the tendency to look at the current state of affairs and let that dictate how they feel. If your specific person is distant, unavailable, or unresponsive, it can be easy to believe that your desire is unattainable. But this is the exact opposite of what you must do. The current circumstances are simply a reflection of your past thoughts and assumptions. They do not have the power to dictate your future, unless you allow them to. If you continue to look at the current state of affairs, you are simply reinforcing the old assumptions that created those circumstances. Instead, you must look beyond the present moment and assume that your desire is already fulfilled. This is the most powerful part of the process living in the end. You must no longer wait for the person to come into your life, to show interest, or to take action. You must live as though they are already in your life, already loving you, already choosing you. The more you assume this to be true, the more the outer world must shift to reflect that assumption. The person you desire will begin to respond to the energy you are putting out. When you live as though your desire is already fulfilled, you are vibrating at the frequency of that reality, and the external world must align with that frequency. Living in the assumption that your specific person is already in your life also requires you to let go of any resistance or doubt. It is not enough to simply think about your desire, you must feel it. You must feel the joy, the peace, the love, and the fulfillment of having your desire already manifest in your life. It is the emotional charge behind the assumption that gives it the power to create. The more you feel the truth of your desire, the more the outer world will conform to that feeling. This is why it is so important to persist in your assumption and to feel it as though it is already true, even if the external world has not yet caught up. When you begin to assume that your specific person is already deeply in love with you, you will begin to notice subtle shifts in your experience. These shifts may not always be immediately obvious, but they will occur. You may begin to feel more confident, more loved, more connected to your specific person. You may notice that they start to show signs of affection or interest, even if they have not done so in the past. These shifts are the first signs that the outer world is beginning to reflect your inner assumptions. You must remain steadfast in your assumption and continue to feel the truth of your desire, trusting that the external world will soon catch up. It is also important to understand that the law of assumption is not about controlling others or forcing them to behave in a certain way. It is about changing your own perceptions and assumptions. You cannot force your specific person to love you or to act in a certain way, but you can change the way you see them. When you change your assumptions about them, they will begin to respond to the energy you are putting out. The person you desire will begin to show up in ways that reflect your new assumptions. You will not need to manipulate or control the situation, because the universe will bring the people and circumstances that align with your assumptions. The key to manifesting your desires is persistence. You must continue to live in the assumption that your specific person is already in your life, already loving you, and already choosing you, regardless of the current circumstances. The more you persist in this assumption, the more the outer world will reflect it. You must not allow doubt or fear to shake your belief. When you live in the assumption of the end result, you are aligning yourself with the frequency of your desire, and the universe must bring it into your experience. Living in the assumption that your specific person is already in your life also requires you to release any attachment to how or when it will happen. You must trust that the universe knows the best way to bring your desire to you. Your job is to remain faithful to your assumption and to feel the truth of your desire now. The more you do this, the more the universe will align the circumstances in your favor. When you trust in the process and allow the universe to work its magic, you will be amazed at how quickly your desire can manifest. Ultimately, the power to attract your specific person lies within you. When you change your assumptions about them, you change your entire experience of them. The outer world is simply a reflection of your inner state. And when you live in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, the universe must bring it into your experience. The person you desire is not separate from you. They are part of your consciousness. And as you change your assumptions, they must respond. When you live in the end, the external world must shift to reflect that assumption, and your desire will manifest effortlessly. As you reflect on the journey of manifesting your specific person, it becomes clear that the power to shape your reality lies within you. The external world is not the cause of your experiences, but merely a reflection of the assumptions, beliefs, and feelings you hold within. To attract the love, connection, and fulfillment you desire, you must first align your inner world with the end result, assuming that the person you desire is already deeply in love with you, already thinking of you, and already choosing you. The process is not about waiting for the external world to change or trying to force outcomes. It is about transforming your own consciousness, shifting your assumptions, and feeling the reality of your desire as though it is already true. When you persist in this assumption and feel the emotional truth of it, the outer world must inevitably shift to reflect that change. Remember, your assumptions are the creators of your reality. If you wish to experience a deeper connection with your specific person, you must change the way you perceive them. By assuming that they are already in your life and already loving you, you align your inner world with the reality you wish to experience. As you live in the assumption of the end result, the universe will bring your desire to fruition, bringing you the love and connection you've always wanted. Trust the process, be persistent in your assumption, and let go of attachment to how or when it will manifest. The more you persist in your assumption, the more the outer world will conform to your inner state. The law of assumption is a powerful tool, and when used consistently and with unwavering belief, it will bring your desires into your physical reality.